Okay, we're in the middle of a sugya. It's funny. It's a few mishnayos, but it's one sugya. We saw the mishnah yesterday that until now we basically dealing with the tiniest pasulim. Woman gets married on Wednesday, husband wakes up Thursday morning, shows up in Bezdin, says she's not a pasula. Okay, we haven't dealt. There's two possibilities. There was blood and was lost, or she's tiniest pesach pasuach. We don't know what she tiniest. Yesterday we had a mishnah. She tiny. You know what? You're right. I'm not a basula, but they're nasty. They're nasty. I was an anusa. I was forced. So we had a machlokes. Who's believed? Do we believe her enough to go ahead and take money out of its chazaka? Again, that was the big starting point we began with was uki money b'chesas mari. In order to go ahead to take out money, I might say mechaber love lehever raya. So the money is in the b'shus because the ksub is in the b'shus of the husband. Can she take it out? Says Rabbi Gamliel, yes, she can. Says Rabbi Yeshua, she can't. She cannot. But we then had a Mishnah, a Brisa, where a guy shows up and says, "You owe me $100." The guy says, "I don't know." Said Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Huna, they're believed. Said Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yochanan, they're not believed. Right? We wanted to say, therefore, that Rav Nachman is just focus on Rav Nachman. That Rav Nachman holds like Rabbi Gamliel. That what? Now the Havamina was that Bari V'Shema Bari Adif, regular Bari, a Bari V'Shema Bari is Adif. So the Taina Bari of the Isha that I was on pizza beats the Taina of he doesn't know exactly. So the Gemara concluded yesterday that the way I explained this, the way the Rashba explained it, and Rashi explains it, that we're not getting off the Bari V'Shema. We're saying Stama Bari V'Shema, if Nachman can hold a Bari V'Shema, regular Bari V'Shema would not work. In other words, you claim $100, and I say I don't know. You can't get the $100. Why in the Mishnah we believing him? Because he has support for his Bari. She has support for her Bari. What's the support? Believe me that I was nasty, that I was forced. I could have said it was a mukach shchin. And if I would have said a mukach seitz, I'm sorry. Well, I could say mukach seitz. If it's a mukach, I wouldn't pass myself to the kuna. By saying my nusa, I'm passing myself to the kuna. So I was masbrin, and this is the way the Rashi was, that migu supports the bari. It makes it a strong bari. But a regular bari of Nachman can hold what? You're not believed, you can't take money out. But such a bari that's supported by what? By that migu, or another pshat. She has a chazaka. When this woman got married, she had a chazaka. What was the chazaka? She was a basula. Stama woman is a basula. She has that chazaka that she's a basula. And she stays a basula, and she's a basula till known otherwise. So therefore, her bari is stronger because of the chazaka. And we concluded yesterday's share by saying it's good that you're saying that Rav Nachman called Rav Gamliel. The halach is like Rav Nachman. And we say the halach is like Rav Gamliel over here. So it's important to have them in conjunction with each other. And that's what we left off yesterday. Now we're going to go ahead and say on a Mishnah that again goes into the machloikas of Rav Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer on one side and Rabbi Yeshua on the other side about the taina of Bari in a different scenario, but basically the same Gemara. So if you have a little understanding of it, we went over it a few times. So basically, Baruch Hashem, hopefully people have an understanding, things will get easier. Says the Mishnah, we're in the Mishnah, Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. I pin. Here meres mukach eitzani. Now she tines on a mukach eitz. She says I'm mukach eitz. For who omer loi kiel drusas ish. No, you were with a man. You know. The fact that you're not a basula has nothing to do with the fact that you were hit with a piece of wood, boys in the makayim. It has the fact that you were drusas ish, that what you were with a man. So l'chayra, she is saying I want my kasuba, and he's saying no, I'm not giving it to you. Rabbi Gamliel of Rabbi Eliezer oimrim nemenes. She's believed. Rabbi Yeshua oimer loimi pi anuchayim. We don't live through her mouth. El harizu b'cheskas drusas ish. Achetavi ra'il. Again, the same machlokes. Okay. Now he says drusas ish at koidim sherestika. Before I got engaged to you, right? Before we got married, Now, until now, we've assumed that the taina is 200, and he wants to get totally off the hook. We're going to see that there are different opinions. This is my brother-in-law asked me this the other day. There are different opinions exactly. What usually when they say mekach tois means the deal is off. Like forget about it. I thought I was marrying a basula, and you're not a basula. I don't owe you anything. However, there's a difference opinion. Tanai subimai. What's the taina? Okay, so we saw this a little bit before. Rabbi Yochanan Amar b'masayim umana, meaning she wants 200, and he agrees to give her 100. So it's not 200 nothing, 200 a bust. It's 100. Rabbi Lezer Menama b'mana v'lei klum. Rabbi Lezer says what? B'mana v'lei klum. So in other words, the case of mukach eitz is really, guys, contingent upon a machlokes that we saw earlier. A mukach eitz ben hikabah lehikabah machlokes Rameya and the Chachamim. How much do you collect? Good. Now, Rabbi Yochanan b'masayim umana. So now, obviously, he must hold a mukach eitz. What gets 200? You're going 200 for 100, right? 200, 100. So it must be he holds a mukach eitz. What is a 200? Sabla Kreb Meya, who we met before. It seems like many years ago, it was too blot ago. The Amar Bein Hikabah, whether we knew, or Bein Loi Hikabah b'Masayim. Rebbe Lezer, no, b'man of Leiklum, because Savla Krabana Nami Bein Hikabah Bein Loi Hikabah Mana. Because in other words, where are you starting off when she says I was a mukach eitz? When she says I was a mukach eitz, right? What are you starting off with? How much are you starting off with, right? Mukach eitz. What am I starting off with? Says Reb Meir, you start off with 200. Says the Rabbanan, you're starting off with 100. So therefore, going ahead and applying that, if you hold 200, it's from 200 to 100. If you hold what? It's 100, then it's 100 to what? To nothing. So Sabal Krabbanan, Dami Bein Hikabah. Bishleim Rebbe Lazo like Kama Kreb Yochanan. Bishleim goes from 100 to nothing. Does not hold like Rebbe Yochanan to Kamuki La Krabbanan, because he's going according to the majority opinion. He's going to the majority opinion. That what? That the 100. Mukas eitz gets 100. Al Rabbi Yochanan, my time alone Kreb Laza. You know why? Kesava konsa becheskas besula, v'nimtzas beula yesh la ksuba b'mana. In other words, if you married her thinking it's a besula, and it turns out to be beula, you get 100. So you get 100. You get, that's what you get. So hachu kama mana v'hi ka'armes mana ma'yika bein taina didei l'taina dida. Taina didei l'taina dida. In other words, it doesn't make any sense. I hold like this. I hold if you marry a woman and thinking she's a basula and she's not, right, then you get a mana. So if that's the case, and you're tiny that a mukas eitz is you're tiny, she's not a basula, you thought she was and she's not. If it's 100 and you're claiming 100 and she's claiming 100, so there's no disagreement. So therefore, in order to create a disagreement, it had to be that what she's claiming 200. That's why you're like Reb Meir. In other words, guys, Rabbi Lezer makes sense. Machlokes Yochid v'Rabim, you're passing like the Rabbim. The Rabbim says over here, Mukas eitz gets 100. Why is Rabbi Yochanan, who with Allah is just like Rabbi Yochanan, right? Why is Rabbi Yochanan saying 200? And the answer is because he has another din that is forcing the issue. What's the other din? He holds if you stam is like if you think there's two pshatim. If you marry a basula, you think she's a basula and she's not, then deals off, right? Nothing, nada. Or no, deals on for 100, not 200 for 100. He holds if you marry a girl and you think it's a basula, you get 100. Good. So now it turns if you're going to tell me that the Allah is like the Chachamim by Mukas eitz, good. So what's her claim? 100. What's his claim? 100. So there's no so take the 100 and leave. There's no machlokes. So it must be that her claim is 200. That's why he passed like Reb Meir. That's why he passed like Reb Meir. In order to create the machlokes, or else there's no machlokes between the two of them. Okay, very good shmat. Now, Bishleima. Now basically we had two mishnayos telling me the exact same thing. Guys, good? Guys, we had two mishnayos. We had the case of Nasti and the case of Mukas eitz telling me the exact same machlokes. Rabbi Gamliel says they believe, and Rabbi Shua says not believe. And by the case of what? A Mukas eitz, you believe. So Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Gamliel saying you believe. And what do you have to tell me? What do you have to tell me? Same machlokes, right? What's the chiddush of the second Mishnah over the first Mishnah? You're telling me the same din. You're telling me the din of Bari V'Shema. You're telling me the din right of keeping looking mamon al cheskasei. So what's the machlokes? Says no. Bishleim al Rebbe Laza, who says that what? Who says that your claim is what? 100 to nothing. Hainu tani tarti. Chada, the first one, the one of them, the second one, Mukas eitz lafuke mid the Rami Varchama, to exclude the din of Rami Varchama, who says that she doesn't have a ksuba at all. In other words, I'm telling you that what she's there's a sheet that she doesn't get any ksuba, and you're saying no, you get 100. V'chada, and one of Nenasti, Lafuki mid Reb Chia bar Avin, right? The Rabbi Shei says to exclude the din Reb Chia bar Avin, who said in Rabbi Shei says, right, that she has a ksuba of a mana, that she does have a ksuba. So one, you're telling me Lafuki the shita she doesn't have, and the other one, that the case of 100, this case Lafuki that it's a claim of 200 versus the case of 100. El Rabbi Yochanan, like Rabbi Yochanan, who says that what? That Basulo, that is 100, in both cases 100, right? Tati Lamali, what do you have to tell me? The case of Nenasti is 100, and the case of Mukhasei is 100. And for the Gemara, Chadal Adiach Koyach Rabbi Gamliel, the Chadal Adiach Koyach Rabbi Yeshua. One is to tell me the Koyach Rabbi Gamliel says she's believed, and one to tell me the Chiddush Rabbi Yeshua is not believed. Kamaisa, the first one, Lodiach Koyach Rabbi Yeshua. Guys, the case by Nenasti, yeah? We heard Rabbi Gamliel's taina. We heard Rabbi Yeshua's. Good. What was Rabbi Yeshua's taina? You can't take money out. What was Rabbi Gamliel's taina? Nenasti. Believe me with amigo, I could have said muchasetz. So l'chayra, you would have said Rabbi Yeshua should be made, right? So you told me the Reisha to tell me that no. Even when you have a migu, even when it's a powerful migu over here, powerful taina of bari, still Rabbi Yeshua says no, keep the money where it is. So we learned the case in Nasti where she was forced, right? The afal gav the ikal amigo, even though there is to say amigo, believe me that I was forced. Migu that you could have said what? I was the mukaseitz, which I wouldn't have been puzzled to the kuna. And Basraisa, the latter one, is Lodia Koyach Rabbi Gamliel. The afal gav the lekal amigo mehimna. Even though there is not to say amigo what, you still believe. Even though you're not saying now. Guys, so the very geschmack Gemara. I'm going to show you a diak. My sons came up with a beautiful diak, and it's a beautiful diak. So we have two mishnayos. Tell me the exact same din that what? Nasty. This. Okay. We wanted to say the first mishnah, right? Where Rav Nachman held like Rabbi Gamliel. Good. Now, if you take a look, Rav Nachman had a friend on the Amid Beis, guys. Rav Nachman had a compatriot who said, in the case of you owe me 100 and you don't know, who said your potter? Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yochanan. Good? Rav Nachman, Rabbi Yochanan. Why didn't the Gemara go ahead and say that Rav Yochanan, right, and Rav Nachman hold like Rav Gamliel? It only said Rav Nachman. It didn't mention Rav Yochanan, guys. It did mention Rabbi Yochanan. It just meant on yesterday's Gemara, if you look, only Rav Nachman, not Rabbi Yochanan. You know why? Because in this Gemara, clearly, Rabbi Yochanan said the whole reason for the first one is the second one is to tell me Rabbi Gamliel is believed even without the migu. What was the reason, Rav Nachman, guys? Why? What was the Gemara's? What was yesterday's Gemara, guys? Rav Nachman and Rav Gamliel must be hold a difference. Amar be answer. Rav Nachman would say Rabbi Gamliel, I would agree with him because you have a migu. Good. Rav Nachman said, I buy 100 with no migu, then keep the money where it is. Where there's a migu, then I agree with Rabbi Gamliel. Why don't we include Rabbi Yochanan? Because what's Rabbi Yochanan saying over here? That you're telling me the case of the second Mishnah that you believe even without the migu. So you see, Rabbi Yochanan couldn't buy into the migu. Then he'd hold like Rabbi Gamliel even without the migu. So therefore, obviously, it couldn't be it couldn't be Rav Nachman. It cannot be only Rav Nachman. It cannot be. Yeah, it was not Rav Yochanan. That was the Dik of Simcha and Moshe. Okay, very good. Next Mishnah. Again, similar kindness. You see us speaking, literally speaking with a man, but as we're going to see, it's much more than speaking. You see us speaking with an individual, for Amrullah, and you say to her, Mativu shalizeh. What's the nature of this guy? Is this guy kosher or not? Is he a psul? Is he a mamza? Is he in the sin? Or is he a Jew? So she said, not only is he a Jew, ish kayin v'kayinu. Guess what? He's a kayin. He's the best of the Jews. He's the most miyuchistic of the Jews. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Lezer, Oimrim, ne she's believed. Now, obviously, guys, that means more than speaking, right? You're going to see in a second, right? So ne menace, believed. Rabbi Yeshua, Oimeh loimi piyanu chayim ela habisu b'chesed b'ula. She is the chazaka of being a b'ula. So obviously, she did more than speak. Good. So she's not a basula anymore. Not a basula. What?
She's not a married.
Not a married woman. Now, so the question is over here is whether she can marry a kohen or not. The question is whether she can marry a kohen or not. Okay, that's the whole shayla over here. If you look at Rashi, we're not mesupik whether it's nivel psula. So like Benji is correct. And this is not a shayla about being mitzi mamin. This is not shayla whatsoever. But again, it's a different shayla over here. Now, she's now pregnant and she's not married. What's the nature of this child? And what does she tell us? The father is so and so, the kohen who, and he's a kohen. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer, Ne'emenis. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer says she's believed. Rabbi Yeshua, Oimer Loimi Pia Nuchayim El Harizu Becheskos Muberes. She's nechazaka being impregnated by what? Lina sin. That's one of the Gavonim. David said is us the Kam Kal Ulamamzer At Shetavi Raya Lidvareha. So again, apparently a third Mishnah telling me the same yisoid of Bari V'Shema, Bari Adif. What? What? Okay, those are possible of the kahuna. Okay, says not my midaberes. My midaberes. Now, obviously, midaberes does not mean what? Talking. Zeiri amanistera, right? You didn't see. There's no edis to bia, but even just by the fact that we're behind closed doors together, that will possible kahuna according to Rabbi Yeshua. You know why? Because of Maila, Rashi tells us the Maila asa b'yuchsin. Now, guys, you have to explain to Yeshua. Guys, listen to what's happening over here. Oh, according to Ziri, a girl is going behind closed doors with someone that we don't know. We don't know. We have no inkling, ifs, ands, or but. Bigger chiddush, we know it's a Jew. That we do know. Raiv Jews, Jew, it's a Jew. Bigger chiddush. And says Rabbi Yeshua, you know what? This girl is possible to marry a kohen. You have no raya to that there was a bia whatsoever. She was behind closed doors, as a man would take for a bia, but you have no raya that a bia took place, right? However, she's possible kuna. Why? Says Rashi. The Gemara will say later on, the maila asa b'yuchsin. Should the maila make a maila of yuchsin like a hanim to marry a girl who's behind closed doors? That we want to. Why? We'll say she's a zayna. Again, by now by Yavamis, we know what's a zayna, right? That she had relations with someone who was an apostle. Like, remember, zayna, we elaborate upon it. It's not what you think it is. Now, the way it's used in Hebrew is not the way it really is. Good. Now, back in the Gemara. So, the rest Siriam Nistra. Ravasi says never no. Says Ravasi, we know that fact she did. We know for a fact she did, and therefore what she is asa to the kuna. Now, Bishleim is iri hainaduktani midaberes instead of niveles. El Ravasi, my midaberes. Bishleim midaberes, it can mean nistera, right? But if nivel midaberes, says, well, lishna mali, you're right, with the Torah is using a very nice lashon, kidduch siv. What does it says by Anisha? Kain derech isha mina afes. This is the way of an Anisha who's a neof, adulteress. Achla, she eats, meaning she has tashmish. Machata pia, and she wipes herself. Mom, relate palti off and didn't do anything wrong. So achla over here, what do you see? What it means? It means what? It means bia. Okay, so machloikas. See, guys, nachamo ziri nistera ravasi bia. Good. Now, bishleim is ziri haydu 20 tarti midaberes uberes. We have in the Mishnah 2 cases. One that she was behind closed doors, and another one she actually was pregnant. Good. So therefore, you're telling me what? There's a chiddush. Not only what, a case where she was yichud, and a case of what? Of pregnancy. El Rav Asi, Tarti Lamali. Like Rav Asi, why do you have to tell me 2 cases? Why do you have to tell me 2 cases? The chayra, if you're telling me there was a bia and she's pregnant, all the pregnancy proved was watched that there was a bia, right? And we want to know the nature of the child. But if the child's apostle, then she also is apostle, right? So mainly you're going to hear the halacha by heart. Says the Gemara, El Rabasi Tati Lamli, said ma chadal lahachsha ba, v'chadal lahachsha b'bita. That's a chiddush. One that she's believed on herself, and one she's even believed on the child. There's a daya, as we're going to see, she's only believed on herself. She's not believed on the child, right? Says Rashi, b'bita, one the last thin line. Ima uber azeh nekeva tinasi lekahuna l'regamliel. What do you mean she's believed b'bita? That this child will be able to marry a kohen according to Rabbi Gamliel. Diashminan b'dida, if you just tell me her, havamina iyo hoil the havile chazaka the kashrus meikara, Amrinan ukmi achazaka. You know why, guys? You know why Rabbi Gamliel believes her? Because remember the second teretz, guys? He had the chazaka that she was a basula. Hey, you have the chazaka that she's kshera. Chazaka that she's a kshera. That she's not a zoina. You know, it's again when you're trying to virus suffix. This woman before she was behind closed doors, was she right to a kohen? Yeah. So her chazaka is one of kashrus. So to get off that chazaka, right? We don't just say she's ne'emenes because of that chazaka. Masha Enkein, there is no chazaka by the child, so it's a chiddush to say that she breathed on the child. Va'al tef testina misafik. Aval ubor doi havile chazaka the kashrus emaloi. So the chiddush is that she's even believed without the chazaka, she's even believed on the child.
Just being behind closed doors is a break chazaka.
But no, again, no. It's still a suffix. That's still a suffix. It's a suffix, but what the guy is. A chazaka, a suffix doesn't make a chazaka. A chazaka is the way of being a virus suffix, right? We want to say it doesn't weaken the chazaka. Does it weaken the chazaka? Again, but she's tining something. She has a chazaka with a taina. She has a taina that what this guy is. We don't know what this guy is. We're creating something we don't know. Anyway, so the chazaka could say that she's just like she was kosher before. She's chazaka now. Okay, so now, it says what was the kasha? Loit Ravasi that says that mideres means a bia. And Muberes obviously means a bia. What's the chiddush? That not only she believed on herself, she's also believed on the child. Good. Very good, according to the opinion that just like she's able to go ahead and testify on herself that she's kosher v'yosher to a kohen, so too she can testify on a child. Well, according to Ravasi, then there's an opinion that she's not believed on the child, and the child taka is soul. So Ravasi somebody have to say Ravasi, who says both cases, must hold that just like she's believed on herself, she's believed on the child. Guys, is everyone good over here? Again, it's repetitive. It's repetitive. The same idea of Rabbi Gamliel saying you're believed, saying Rabbi Yeshua you're not believed. And we had Hechetimsa again of Nenasti. We had a Hechetimcha of Muchas Eitz. Now we have a Hechetimsa what of Yichud and according to opinion, actual Bia and Meuberes. Good. The first two were concerning monetary matters, and this concern is concerning Yichus to the Kohen. And therefore, Rabbi Yeshua, who before said Ukmi Mane Becheskase, has to come up with a reason over here why Rabbi Yeshua say she's taka pasul. She has a chazaka. Says Rashi, and the Gemara is going to say, Maila asa beyuchsin, we make a Maila beyuchsin to marry a kohen. We're all good? Okay, great. Amalei Papa Abaya. Liz the Iri, who says it means yichud. Midaberes means that yichud. The Amamar Midaberes is Nistera. She was miyached with this man. From Rabbi Yeshua, loy mehimna. Rabbi Shimon says you're not believed. Ayivham Rav, Malkin ala yichud, vein oisun al yichud. Lamed like Rabbi Yeshua. In other words, if you're behind closed doors, you'll get Malchus Midrabanan. There's where Yichud, guys, the whole din of Yichud came about. It's a din Rabbanan. Yichud with an Eish, of course, is deraisa. Yichud with an Erev is deraisa. Yichud with a Penuya, an unmarried person, is the Rabbanan. It happened because of the Maisa of David had a daughter Tamar, who was unfortunately raped by her brother, her half brother Amnon. Right, and that's when at that time there were guys on Yichud Penuya, because she was sick. He may believe he was sick, and she knew how to make a certain dish, and he came up with a whole plan in order that he should have time with her. And from that time on, they're miyachid Penuya. So it's din rabbanan. So it says Malkin over here. Be aware, it's Malchus Mardis. For Yichud, you're going to get Malchus Maldis. Malkin al Yichud, Veinois al Yichud. Lamed like Rabbi Yeshua. Let's say it's not like Rabbi Yeshua, who says mashma over here that what you're not believed. I feel him Yeshua. Maila asa b'yuchsin enachinami. But we made it. You taka what? We're not machzakas neveles. Look at Rashi. Leimed like Rabbi Yeshua the mishum yichud machzalam b'neveles. Right? You machzakas is neveles. B'yuchsin. We go ahead and make a yichus b'yuchsin. That's Rabbi the shita of Rabbi Yeshua. Meisivei. We get the following question. Okay. Meisivei. You have a question over here. Okay. She goes to a makam of yichud. Again, the guys get set up. The Seiri says, Midaberes means what? Yichud. And Rasi says, Bia. We're going to ask a kasha. Okay, we're leading up to a kasha again. Ravasi Bia Ziri Yichud. Okay, we're going to ask on that. You see her go into a place a place that's of yichud, or to a churva. Churva were places where it was a house that fell in. It was a place that is not populated. No, there's no person there. And they say to her, "Ma tibu shel ish zeh." So what does she say? Koyin hu ben achi abahu. He's a koyin. In fact, he's my cousin. He's the son of my father's brother. The Shittim Gubetza says a pshat over here. I don't know why they added that nakuda. This doesn't seem to. There's a reason, but I don't get it. Anyway, no. It's a cousin. No, again, he's a kosher miyasha guy. He's a super kosher guy. He's beyond super kosher. You think he's in sin and mamza? He's mishpacha. He's my cousin. Okay. Now he's my cousin. He's a kohen. Okay. Anyways, so now Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Lezer Oimrim, Ne'emenes. She's believed. Rabbi Shua Oimer, Loimi Piyah Nechayim. No, she's not believed. Elaharizu b'cheskas peula, that she had relations in a sin ula mamzer, which were passel her for the kahuna. Ad shetavi raya lidvareha, until she brings a raya to her words. Now, what's the case over here? She went b'seiser, good. So or to a churva. Bishlei melizairi haindik tani tarti l'seiser or l'churva. Bishlei melizairi. You taught me two cases. L'seisa u'lechurva, as we're going to see, right? Seiser is yichud, and churva could be actual relations. El Ravasi, the Oma Nivelis, who says mamish, it's the seiser is what Nivelis tarti lamali. Why do you care about the place? L'seisa, according just like what midaberis meant bia, so to seiser means bia, and churva also means bia. So bishleim is iri, it's two separate cases, but like Ravasi, it's the same case. That's the kasha. Like Ravasi, it's the same case. Two descriptions of bia. Says no. Chad the ketani l'seisa the churva. No, tati lam says the Gemara. El Ravasi dam and Nivelis tati lamali. Chad the ketani. It's one teretz. It's not two cases. It's one case. Chad the ketani l'seisa the churva. If she went into a l'seisa of a churva, so it's not two different locales. It's one locale. L'seisa the churva. Fred the Gemara v'seisa oy l'churva ketani. We didn't learn one place. It's mashma. Oi, two different places. This teretz is not going to wash. Says the Gemara, okay. Chada l'churva de masa. One is speaking about what? The churva in the city. Chada l'churva de dabra, and one is speaking about a churva in the midbar. Now, if you're in a city, guys, watch. If you're in a city and it's a Jewish city, so what does the Roiv say? Who is that person that was with her? Kasha guy, right? Kasha guy. If it's a churva that is out of the city, the Roiv is goyim. Okay, so therefore now you got a chiddush. The chiddush should be afilu the Roiv. You'd say it's innocent.
You listen to her.
Yeah. No. Or you don't listen to her. You don't. If Roiv.
It's innocent.
Right. Now. Let's go. Betzricha. Tiash min chorva demasa. B'ho kamach Rabbi Gamliel. Mishum deroiv kashenim etzla. Maybe Rabbi Gamliel only says it's kosher over here. Why? Because you have a roiv backing her up. Again, we had a migu back. Guys, listen to this Gemara. You had a migu backing her up. You had a chazaka backing her up, and now you have a roiv backing her up. What more do you need? By Nenasti, you had what? Either migu, or you had a chazaka that she's a basula, right? By mukas eitz, right? Mukas eitz, you had nothing. You had that. You didn't even have a migu over there. You didn't have a migu over there. But again, the chiddush was that even without the migu, that we're going to believe that. Anyway, avol lechurva the dabra the roif besulam etzla, a churva in the midbar where no longer do you have the majority of the people of the city to be samech upon, and therefore maybe I would think what. Rabbi Yeshua and Kavash Malon that you're not. If you tell me there in the midbar, by he come Rabbi Yeshua, because you don't have the roiv. But in the city where you have a roiv Jews, so tzricha to tell me in both cases, nah. That's the tzrichas according to Ravasi. That's the tzrichas according to Ravasi. Well, let's see some Rashis over here. I don't think you have to. I think we're good. Okay, now next case. Meitzevei. Zu Edis, you have over here that she says I was nivel to a kosher, right? I was nivel to a kosher. Zu Edisha Isha Ksherula. This is Edis that a woman is believed to say that she had relations with someone who was a kosher. Okay? Rabbi Yeshua Omer Einun Menes. She's not believed. Okay. What we're going to have, guys, here is a dialogue, and we have an upslug on Ravasi. Good. We're going to have a dialogue, and we're going to have at the end of the dialogue a long brisa. We're going to have an upslug on Ravasi. Because here's the foreshadow. Ravasi said that midaberis means what? Nivala. And he says that what? That's what it means. We're going to slug that up. But in the slug up, we're going to have a very difficult brisa. And we're going to go back and explain the brisa. But the brisa is a conversation that takes place between Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Eliezer timing she's believed, and Rabbi Yeshua is saying she's not believed. So Kidarkoi, what we're going to do is we're going to say the brisa, show the tiyufta how Ravasi is knocked out, and then go back and explain the brisa. Okay, that's the mechanics of the Gemara without the nuances. Says the Gemara the following. This is Adis that a woman's believed to say that that the person she was with was in fact a kosher. Now, what Rabbi Yeshua man she's not believed. Amalahem, Rabbi Yeshua says Rabbi Yeshua to them. Who's them? Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Gamliel. Iatem moedim b'shvuya shenishbas. Aren't you moeded by a girl that was captured? V'yeshla edim shenishbas, and there's edim that she was captured. V'yomer tahorani, and she says she's tahor. She's not believed. So too over here, she says I was with a kosher. She shouldn't be believed. That's the time that Rabbi Yeshua said to Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Gamliel. Omru loy said Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer. Aval, it's true. It's true. Aval means here it's true. Yes, it's true. What's true? It's true that if she's captured, I'm asking that she's not believed to say that she's not a basula. And she's and that she's kosher to a kohen, because again she's with guys with she's with a guy, she'd be a zayna. What's the difference between this case and that case? Meaning, what's the difference when she, in this case in the shvuya, lezu by shvuya yesh edim, you have edim that she was captured and she was and behind closed doors. Lezu ein la edim, and this one there's no edim. That's what they said. So it's true there she's tamei, she's not kosher anymore, but there's edus to the fact that she was there. Mashen can over here, there's no edim. Amalahem, what do you mean there's no edim? Said Rabbi Gamliel, said Rabbi Yeshua to them, Af zu yesh edim, there's edim that something transpired. Krisa ben shineha, her stomach is between her teeth, meaning she's very pregnant. Good. So in other words, if you're what Rabbi Yeshua is timing, if you're masking by shvuya, by captive that she's not believed, so too you should be masking when she's pregnant, she's not believed. Good. Now listen to this answer. Omru loy roiv oivdei kechavim prutzim b'royas heim. Most of the oivdei kechavim are prutzim b'royas. What did they answer? Guys, listen to what they said. Listen to this conversation. You make by shvuya that she's tamei because there's edim. The fact that she was behind closed door with a guy and is pregnant, there's no bigger edim than that. You know the answer to that? The goyim are a bunch of prutzim. The Gemara is going to have to get back to that. Okay, hang in there. Amalahem said Rabbi Yeshua to them, "Ein apetropos la'rayos." Okay, we'll get back to this. The Gemara is going to explain what the dialogue was. Now, b'medem that Rabbi Gamliel says she's believed. Be'edis isha begufa, aval edis isha bebita dibya kol avlat shtuki. Everyone said the vlal is a shtuki. We met shtuki's lashon shasak. That if a guy goes over to a man in the street and say "Daddy," and the woman goes "Shh," okay, good. My kamal who or my kamahadu. Okay, that's the brisa. Now, guys, we're gonna explain the conversation and see the upslug on Rav Asi who says midaberes is bia. Good. Now let's get. What did they say and what did he answer? Again, what do we have? Shvuya equated with pregnancy, and they say that that goyim is different. They're prutzim, and he says that that ain't apotropos l'rayos. Says my kamalahu. What did they say to him? My kamahalei, and what did they answer him? What did he say to them? What did he answer them? Hachi kamalei. This is what they said to him. Hishavtanu ala muberes. You answered us on. You answered the muberes. Matishivenu ala midaberes. What are you going to say about the midaberes? Okay, good. So you know what? This woman's pregnant. But what are you going to say about the midaberes? In other words, why shouldn't she be believed? Your time is the following. There's Aiden by Shvuya. There's an Aiden by Muberes. She's pregnant. But just being behind closed doors, now that's the raya. That's not a bia. That's the raya to Rav Ziri. That's the raya, guys. That's the raya. What are you going to say when she was just midaberes? That's what they said to Rabbi Yeshua. She only spoke to the guy, meaning there wasn't any aidus to any hanky-panky. Amalehem midaberes. He said to them, midaberes haina shvuya. Midaberes is the same thing as shvuya. You know why? The shneim ein lahem eidim on the bia. There's no aidus on the bia. There's no aidus by shvuya. There's no aidus on the bia. Or there's aidus that she was captured. But midaberes, there's no aidus on the bia. You know why, guys? Because it's not a bia. That's the upshlag. That's the upshlag, guys. Listen to the lines. Rabbi Yeshua says to them, if you admit shvuya, then you should admit midaberes. You know why? In both cases, there's no aidus on a bia. That's the Kashan of Ashi. Mulai, they retorted to Rabbi Yeshua, shiny shvuya. You know why? The roivav de kechavim prutzim barayasheim. You want to know the difference between shvuya and midaberes? There's not aiding to both. By shvuya, since there's in the hands of goyim, and most of the goyim are lowlives and degenerates and prutzim barayas, therefore she's not believed. Masha'en came midaberes, where she's behind closed door with a man, and you don't know what happened there, and there's no vade that it was a goy. You want to say the sin is a mamza? She's believed at the time of bari. Says the Gemara, Amalehem. So he said to them, Hanami kibin the starta einap chapas larayas. You know what? Just like by the shvuya, which is behind closed doors, by this prutzim, right? So in general, if behind closed doors with a man, even if it's a Jew, einap chapas larayas. Literally, there's no guarantor, but when it comes to arayas, that was the dialogue. Okay, that was the dialogue back and forth. What you see from this dialogue, Ketani Mihas, right? You know, this guy's when you learn Ketani Mihas is getting around the bottom line. Ketani Mihas, and the bottom line, what we need is the following: Tarti, Midaberes, Umuberes, right? Two things. Midaberes is one thing, Muberes is a second thing. Now, Muberes and Bi are the same thing. Tiyufta the Ravasi, Tiyufta. This is an upshlag on Ravasi. This is an upshlag on Ravasi. Okay, let's chaz river. Let's go. The Mishnah said, Midaberes, she says, who you speaking with? Says Rav Asi, who do you have relations with? Says Rav Ziri, who are you behind closed door with? Says full-fledged Jew, fine Shana Yid. I'm not Basul, I can't marry Kohen Gadol. I'm not saying you can marry Kohen Gadol, but can I marry Kuna? Yes. Says Rabbi Klium, yes. Says Rabbi Yeshua, no. My lois is b'yuchsim. You can't marry. Good, you can't marry. Machloikis, what midaberes means? Doesn't mean bia, ravasi. Doesn't mean what? Doesn't mean stira. Doesn't mean yichud. We have a long-winded brisa, a difficult brisa at that. And in the brisa, from the dialogue of the brisa, we're seeing clearly that what? That it means that, because he said two things. It said shvuya, captured. It said midaberes is like shvuya. Now, midaberes is not like shvuya, because midaberes and shvuya are synonymous, that you know they're behind closed doors, but you don't know what happened. So that was the dialogue. So says Rev Gamliel to Rev Yeshua, the difference between the two, we know what happened. There's a low life over there. Said Rev Yeshua, but guess what? By a Jew also, it's a low life. Okay, great. We said we equated shvuya with midaberes. Shvuya midaberes, there's no edus on bia. It must be yichud. Good. So what do you see? a raya to Zeiri that Medaberes means Yichud, and an Upshlag and Ravasi that Medaberes means Bia. To Yufta Ravasi, to Yufta, we knocked them out of the water. Good. Now let's go back over the Bryce, a little knech, and we'll call it evening. Says the Gemara, V'tepikle the Hasam Roif B'tsulim Etzla, V'hacha Roif K'sheim Etzla. Now, why don't we say the chilik between Shvuya and Medaberes? Guys, what was the chilik? The chilik was prutzim or not. Why don't we say the following? The Hasam by Shvuya Roif B'sulim Etzla. Over there by Kapshiv, most of the people there are Psulim. But in the city over here, Roif K'sheim. Most of the people are fine Shani Yidden, they're fine people. So like Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yeshua, guys, why do Rabbi Yeshua have to say that Ein Apotropos LaRoyes, right? Good Ein Apotropos LaRoyes, but why don't they tell him typically it's not comparable? Because over there, the people she was behind closed doors was Psulim, and here not. Guys, why in the conversation, how did it end off? Guys, look at me. In the conversation, how did it end off? You want to know, says Rabbi Gamliel, the difference between Shvuya and what and Midaberes? Shvuya, they're a bunch of lowlives. They're Roy Prutzim. Said Rabbi Yeshua, Ein Apotropos LaRoyes. Why don't they tell Rabbi Yeshua a very, very simple thing? Okay, forget it. Ein Apotropos LaRoyes, over there by the Goyim, over there Psulim. Over here, you know why you believe? Because Roy Ksherim. That's one to say that. So Messiah Leila Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Dom Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, the Divrei HaMachsher, the one who says that she's kosher, Machsher Afila Beroiv, Yemachsher even Beroiv, Psulim, the Divrei Apostle, Paisel Afila Beroiv Ksherim. In other words, why do you have to come with a taina that ain't up Apotropos LaRoyes? Because you're not going to go after Roiv over here. The one who says we're believed, like Rabbi Gamliel, like you believe, even Roiv Psulim, you're going to be believed. And the one who says that you're not believed, Afila Roiv Ksherim, you're not going to believe because of Maila Biyuchsin. Getting back to something we discussed earlier, you believe she's believed not only to tell her yichus, she's believed to tell her daughter's yichus, and the daughter will be able to go ahead and marry a kohen. The Divrei Apostle ba Apostle bebita. So that's two shitas. The one who says, in other words, like Rabbi Gamliel, believes on the daughter too. Like Rabbi Yeshua, not believe not on both. Like a pshara to shita, however. Rabbi Elazar, not Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Elazar, Stam Elazar is Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua. Guys, remember, Stam Rabbi Elazar is if it's a Tana, it's Rabbi Elazar Meshua. If it's a then Amoyre, it's Rabbi Elazar ben Kadas. Okay, Rabbi Elazar Divrei HaMachsher. Okay, this is I guess the Tana the Tana. Rabbi Elazar Divrei HaMachsher ba Machsher ba Pasal bebita. She's in other words halfway. Believe me on myself. Amar Rabbi, my time of the Rebbe Laza, Bishlem Ihi Islay Chazaka the Kashrus. She has the Chazaka of being Kashrus. Again, she's a kosher person. Beat the Leslie Chazaka the Kashrus. This is the Rashi we saw. Okay. Eisra Rebbe Laza, Rabbi Yechanan, the Medavam Murim, Beidasisha Bekufa. I will Eidasisha Bebita, Dibri Akal of Lat Shtuki. And the Brisa said, everyone says Lat Shtuki. My Lav Shtuki apostle. So how can the one say there's Machshavaha, there's Machshav with the child also? Loi, Shtuki v'kasha. Shtuki v'kasha. Shtuki v'kasha in Kiddush Shmuel. Damish Shmuel. We had this Gemara in Yavamis. You might remember it. Asar kahanim oimdim. He had 10 kahanim standing. Upirish echamehem uboil. And one of them separated was boil. Havlad Shtuki. My Shtuki. What do you mean Shtuki? Ilem shemash skin oisa minachzei aviv that he can't collect pshita, right? Umi yadina navu mano. Where do you know who the father is? Ela shemashi Mashtikin Oisa midin kahuna. We said that even though she was boiled to a vadai kohen, she's not a zaina, nonetheless she won't be able to marry a kohen. You know why? The siv v'hoisaloi ulizara achrav bris kuna sailam misha zara muchas achrav yatzazet shein zara muchas achrav. Now we know the father's a kohen, but we don't know who the father is. Since we know who the father is, you won't be able to marry a kohen. Thanks everyone for listening.